So we've been seeing gas prices drop for several months, and all of a sudden there was a change in direction. And now what we can see is that gas prices are headed back up again. And I gave you guys a heads up months ago when gas prices started to fall. And I warned, I was like, hey, this is short lived. And you guys can check back at that previous video. I talked about the different events that were likely to happen. They were unfolding at the time, and how going into 2023, we're going to see this massive increase in gas prices. Are we going to see $7, $8, $9 a gallon? I don't know about that, but we're anticipating that the price of gas will be much higher. Today, Dow Jones is down 600 points, 630 points. S&P 500 is down 104 points. And you got the NASDAQ down 420 points. You got these huge billion-dollar companies, Apple, Facebook, Meta, Amazon, Tesla, all of these companies down. I read an article, I think there was a total of 7 high-flying tech companies, all down. $260 billion of wealth wiped out in the last 24 hours. It's crazy. And with OPEC basically expecting to cut their oil production by about 2 million barrels a day, also with the current administration's plans on reducing or even eliminating the strategic petroleum reserve output by about a million barrels per day. All of these events, as well as demand for oil, is going to be driving up gas prices. And we just had a recent report coming out, basically essentially indicating how strong the jobs market is. And this is not what the Fed wants to see. So we're seeing the Fed just lay down the hammer on the American people. And if you're not prepared, it's time to get your butt in gear. A lot of American families are being caught off guard, and this is going to be a very painful economic transition for a lot of people. But here's the thing: as we continue to see rent prices increase and go up, the expectation is that rent prices will continue to not only increase in 2022, but rent prices are expected to increase going into 2023 as well. And what we're seeing is a lot more people getting letters in the mail from their landlords, from their apartment complexes, saying that, hey, rent prices are going to go up. Are you going to renew? Rent prices are going up anywhere from $50 a month. Some people have, commented, letting me know that rent prices in their area or wherever they're renting have gone up $600 per month. And Americans are not able to manage the rate of rent price increases. It's getting to a point where more and more Americans are going to be driven back home to live with their parents. And a lot of millennials, older folks, they're going to have to move back home. And so when I say millennials may have to move back home, what I mean is millennials are struggling to cover rent. They may have to move back home with their baby boomer parents. Maybe not baby boomer parents, but they're going to have to move back home with their parents. Some of the older folks may have to move out of where they're renting and move in with their children, because what we're seeing more and more, and you guys can comment down below, let me know what you guys are seeing, but we're seeing more and more families and individuals not able to cover the cost of rent by themselves. And it's staggering how high rent is going. And so, and if we look at what the Fed is doing here with the interest rates, more interest rates are expected to hike, further pushing the American dream further and further away from the average American. So home ownership and purchasing a home in 2022, it's nearly impossible for the average person, and the people who can afford to purchase a home still and actually qualify for a mortgage, they're turned off. They're turned off because it's so much more expensive, and they're looking at how much more expensive it is to borrow money. It makes buying the same house almost, cost 30% more just because of a change in interest rates. And so as we see this shift of more people moving back home, there's going to be there's this socio, there's a societal impact to people moving back home with their parents. And it's going to be real interesting to see how people deal with this, because, society has this stigma about moving back home with your parents. Oh, you're unsuccessful. Oh, there there are so many people in society that are so concerned about what the guy next to them is driving. They're so concerned about keeping up with the Joneses. They're so concerned with how other people perceive you. And this can ultimately lead to financial detriment. So, if you're forced to move home, if you're forced to move back home because you can't afford to live on your own, I want to be here to, and let me know if you guys are seeing anything like this, like people who continue to make bad financial choices because they're concerned about what other people are going to think of them for doing it. Comment down below if you're dealing with anything like that, or someone who's dealing with something like that and you're trying to advise them, hey, I know it doesn't seem cool, but the smart move would be, hey, move back home. Consolidate your expenses with someone else. And I don't see any shame to the game, but a lot of people do. And and so, just imagine you're forced into a situation where you have to move back in with your parents. Now, imagine if you did that. All right. So fake friends will look down on you for doing that. But real friends will look at you as, wow, like I'm so proud of you for doing this. This is a smart decision. Imagine living on your own. You spend $2,000 a month on living expenses, maybe $2,500 a month for living expenses, depending upon where you live. Who knows? Maybe yours is more or less, right? But you move home with your parents. You can help your parents out, reducing their overhead. But for yourself, you can also look at it like, all right, I used to spend $2,000 a month. I'm living home with my parents. I don't know how much you would give your parents, maybe $500 a month. Now, all of a sudden, you've got a $1,500 raise. So if you're able to save an extra $1,500 a month, hypothetically, that's an extra, $18,000 a year, something like that. That's a tremendous amount of money. And the average person would never be able to really save that amount of money. I won't say never, but the average person doesn't have $1,000 to their name to cover an unexpected emergency. So for me to realistically expect the average American to be able to save $18,000 a year, it's not likely. So imagine you put yourself in this situation, and everybody who's looking down on you for moving back home with your parents doesn't know that your savings account just came up by $18,000 in as little as 12 months. They can go take a hike. They can go for a long walk off of a short pier, in my opinion. Get your money right, come up financially, take that $18,000, and as you're building it, you can be investing that money and growing that money, building passive income, generating generational wealth, building a significant amount of a down payment so that, when the right time in the housing market presents itself, you can jump on the opportunity. You can, take advantage of low interest rates at some point in time in the future. We see these economic cycles where interest rates go up, interest rates go down. So, okay, interest rates, they're higher than they have been. They're higher than they have been recently, but they're still technically not high. However, it is likely that the Fed will have to pivot, and they'll have to lower interest rates. And when they lower those interest rates, you can ultimately refinance your house, and you'll find yourself in a very good position. But the key is you need capital, you need cash, and cash, according to Ray Dalio, a couple years ago was trash. Ray Dalio said cash was trash 2 years ago. Today, Ray Dalio is retracting that statement about cash being trash. And you ask anybody who's got bills due, living paycheck to paycheck, and they need to buy food for their family. You ask those individuals if cash is trash. I doubt that they're going to agree with him. Now, at one point, with the rate of inflation and the rate that Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve was just running that money printer, I could see cash being trash at some point, just because what they were doing with the U.S. currency was driving down the buying power and ultimately the global respect for the U.S. dollar. But now, as the Federal Reserve is raising interest rates, the global economy is suffering. The global economy, the other currencies, euro, yen, you name it, they're all suffering as a result of the dollar getting so much stronger globally. Of course, here in the United States, as me and you are going to the grocery stores and wherever we happen to shop, we're still dealing with inflation. So in respect to other currencies, the US dollar is way stronger, but here we are still dealing with inflation. So we're not really seeing the effects of a stronger dollar. Be that as it may, what we need to be doing is making smart financial decisions, building our cash stockpiles, investing, lowering our expenses, and putting ourselves and our families in stronger financial situations, because the food shortages that they promised that would be coming, I don't know if we're going to see food shortages, but I do know that we are going to continuously see higher prices for less goods, meaning you're going to continue to pay higher amounts of money for less food in the grocery store. For example, you're going to pay more money for less of everything. You've heard of shrinkflation. I can't tell you how many times I've gone to the store and picked up a box of cereal, for example, and I lift it up and I'm expecting it to weigh a certain amount. I'm like, wow, it's a little lighter than I thought. Meanwhile, the price is higher and the box is smaller. So stockpile cash. We got to be smart, guys, and we can't let society dictate what's acceptable to us. We got to make smart financial decisions, reduce expenses, increase our incomes, increase our net worths, prepare for the future, and brighter days are coming. So I hope this message gets out to the right people. Y'all be safe.